Hello everyone, I am Christopher Browne, the youth and millennial whisperer and one of America's top student leaders. Now, if you're listening to this video, it's because you don't want to be an ordinary student, right? You want to be a super successful student. So listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Now, tip number one, utilize what I call the explorer's mindset. Tip number one, utilize the explorer's mindset. What is the explorer's mindset, you may ask? Well, the explorer's mindset is the mindset that the instructor, his role or her role is not to teach, but to clarify. You got it? The role of the instructor is not to teach, but to clarify. So you may be asking, Coach, so isn't the teacher going to be teaching? Yes. Remember, we're talking here about to become a super successful student. So in your mind, your philosophy is that the teacher, the role of a teacher is to clarify, all right? And your role as a student is to know as much about the subject matter as possible, all right? So normally an explorer, before they voyage to discover a new terrain, they embark upon knowing as much about the subject matter as possible. And you are also an explorer, embarking on the journey of learning. You're an explorer, all right? So now, as a student, when I was a student, I leveled up on the explorer's mindset. So I took it a step further. Now, when I was sitting in class, my aim was to know as much about the subject matter as possible. So for me, my very first business class, it was the Intro to Business Management class. I embarked upon knowing as much as possible about the material. I read 526 pages, the textbook, before the first day of class. Now you will be saying, Coach, well, I work 2 jobs, I have kids, I have many obligations. Well, with you, then you have to be creative, you have to be flexible, all right? Remember, there is a syllabus. Remember, there are related materials, related articles, and you have to now be able to weigh and measure your time if you are occupied with other things. All right, so perhaps maybe in the subway, you read a chapter or so, perhaps maybe doing, childcare duties, you read another chapter or so. Your aim is to know as much about the subject matter as possible. And in doing so, you'll realize that perhaps the subject matter that I thought was boring, not interesting, has some interesting points. So that is tip number one, to utilize the explorer's mindset. And for me, it paid dividends. When doing so, when even leveling up on utilizing the explorer's mindset, after that first day of class, the professor came up to me and said, hey, I want to become your mentor. Now, mentorship, it's a whole different subject, so we're not talking about that yet. All right, we're still at tip number one. It's to utilize the explorer's mindset. All right, so if you like this video, please share, please like, and leave your comments on our page at the Butler Group. All right, talk to you soon. Tip number one, to utilize what I call the explorer's mindset. Bye-bye.